What if you could live months longer and have an impact on your carbon footprint while you do it? A new study out of McGill University says it is possible by replacing up to half of the red and processed meat and dairy you consume with plant protein foods like nuts, legumes, and tofu. Olivia Auclair is the study's author. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So is it as simple as that? Eat less meat and dairy and human and planetary health will improve?
Well, in our study, which we used data from a national Canadian nutrition survey, we found that the co-benefits for human and planetary health stemmed really from partially replacing our red and processed meat consumption with an array of different plant protein foods. On the other hand, when we did those same replacement scenarios, but with dairy, we actually saw smaller gains to life expectancy, smaller reductions to diet-related carbon footprint, and also a trade-off with calcium inadequacy. So it really depends on the type of animal proteins that we're choosing to replace in our diets. But yeah, these partially replacing up to half of your red and processed meat intake does have benefits for your health and also for the environment.
So how much longer would, say, a man or a woman live if they do change their diets in this manner?
So we actually found that gains to life expectancy were greater for males than they were for females. So men could live on average up to 1 extra year of life if they replaced half of their red and processed meat intake with plant protein foods, and women can live up to 6 months longer. So the reason why we saw this difference was because men tend to consume a lot more red and processed meat than females, about double the quantity.
Oh, that much, is it? Okay, is there a reduction in particular illnesses then associated with this?
Exactly. So these gains to life expectancy that we found in our study are attributed to reduced risks of chronic diseases such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, as well as colorectal cancers associated with the consumption of these foods.
Okay, so do you have to change your diet drastically, become a full-fledged vegan or vegetarian, or is it really just, eating more, I could say, responsibly in that you're not eating as much meat as you might have before, just maybe cut out 1 or 2 meals a week of meat?
Yeah, exactly. Part of the rationale for our study was the changes to Canada's food guide that happened back in 2019. And so now they're recommending that we consume more protein, and particularly that we consume more protein from plant sources. So we designed our study in a way, we interpreted that as doing simple partial replacements of animal with different plant protein foods. And so the message here is really, if you replace up to half of your intake of red and processed meat with plant protein foods, you do see co-benefits for your own health and for your diet-related carbon footprint. So that's what we're really showing. We don't necessarily need to go to lengths to completely shift or uphaul our dietary patterns or exclude any particular food groups to see these benefits. It's really these simple partial changes in our diets.
When people hear that they might live longer and you've got, a quantified amount and that you're helping the environment at the same time, do you think that Canadians would make the switch, start to make changes to their diet?
I think there is this sort of conscious, movement towards trying to consume more environmentally sustainable products. I think there is a movement towards that. I wish we had data that we'd be able to actually show if this was the case or not. But I am hopeful. I do think this is something Canadians will grab onto.
That's super interesting. Thank you so much, Olivia Auclair.
Thank you so much for having me.